Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, a new mental health crisis center is open. Also, Perry Hooper says his political enemies were the reason he was charged for sexual assault. And the state is spending millions to defend its dumb transgender bill.
I love you, pumpkin.
I love you, honey bunny.
Everybody be cool, this is a robbery!
Yep, we're all getting robbed for politics. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and today I'm joined by Susan Britt, research guru extraordinaire, and Josh Moon, columnist and investigative reporter at APR. Welcome.
Hey guys, still happy this week, Pat.
Still, I'm so happy you're happy. You know, there's happiness abounds. Josh, you know, and Susan, we see some odd things come and go over the years in politics. Perry Hooper Jr., who was accused of a sexual assault in the first degree, and the grand jury found him, allegedly found him that he was, in fact, had assaulted this woman, sexually assaulted her. The woman eventually withdrew her complaint, and so the Montgomery DA could not move forward since there was no complaint filed by the woman. Now, Perry Hooper has come forward, Josh, and said that it was all a hoax, that it was all made up by his political enemies. He was set up, and that this woman has a questionable past, and that she was used to ruin his political career because he is a supporter of Donald J. Trump.
Yeah, I mean, seems reasonable to me. You know, it's just another day on the attacking Perry Hooper, because he's so important that who doesn't sit around their house every day scheming of ways to get rid of Perry Hooper Jr. You know, I don't know of anybody on the Democratic slash liberal slash progressive side that doesn't sit around every day just angry that Perry Hooper's out there supporting Donald Trump. I mean, we all are that way. We have meetings about Perry Hooper all the time where we say, listen, could we please get rid of Perry? Let's do something. How about an elaborate scheme where we concoct something with a hostess at a downtown Montgomery restaurant to get rid of him? Let's do this.
I mean, Susan and Josh makes light of this, but this is what they think that's going on. But really, I mean, if anybody is trying to get rid of Perry Hooper Jr., it would be the Republicans.
That's what I was about to say.
You know, I mean, you know, when you mention his names, the eyes roll. Like, people are like, oh, no, not Perry O again.
Yeah, it's like Josh was saying, the time about having meetings, they're not the meetings of Democrats, they're meetings of Republicans, how to get rid of him.
But I don't think they even care. I really don't think they care. And that...
No, and I got to say, you know, one of the things that I believe they've probably overlooked here, and there's... Because honestly, I think this is kind of some sort of harebrained scheme to rehabilitate Perry's reputation publicly, and you know, and whatever. You know, he's going to drag this poor girl along with him into doing this. But one of the things I believe they've overlooked in this is that while the charges were... null prost is the legal term there. What that essentially means is they went away because the girl would not cooperate. Right. The charges can still be refiled at any time. Right. So if she decides that she's now ticked at the way she has been portrayed by Mr. Hooper, then they can come back and refile these charges and bring those felony sexual assault allegations against them and use this video which was going to be the primary evidence, and which I know the Montgomery DA had in its possession and had viewed, and was one of the reasons why they moved forward with the charges. So, yeah.
I wouldn't blame her if she didn't move forward, because now he's going into a checkered past and all that. If I were her, I'd refile against him in a minute. No doubt.
Well, and it seemed like they made some type of settlement. Now, we know that Hooper's former attorney, Joe Espy, has a copy of the tape. He is not releasing the tape. The DA in Montgomery is not releasing the tape. But they seem to think that the tape will exonerate him, when it seemed like the tape was the very thing that would have convicted him.
Honestly, I think this is all a circus. I think they know that tape is not going to be released, and this is just another circus on part of Perry Hooper to draw attention to himself. This is nothing unusual.
Well, I there's an old saying, "Let sleeping dogs lie," but this dog won't let it lie. I want to move on here to something that came up this week. Caleb Crosby, who had been the head of the Alabama Policy Institute since 2014, is stepping down. And Stephanie Smith, a relatively unknown individual in political circles, I mean, she is known but not well known, is taking over the leadership at API. Susan, there's a lot of speculation that while they lauded Mr. Crosby for starting Right Side Radio and 1819 News, what we're hearing from some folks is that the reason he's leaving is because he spent so much money trying to build this radio network and this this news site that they got rid of him because the money is running out.
Well, it's been seen to be, as far as 1819 goes, the money seems to have been leaking lately. We've noticed that with the way they're handling their business model. But also they were invested in this radio as well, and it API is not really large enough to support that kind of network. And so, and plus they started making enemies left and right. I mean, I think his major goal this last election was to get rid of Kay Ivey.
Right. I mean, the Policy Institute wanted to get rid of Kay Ivey. Yeah. That was one of their main thrusts. And then they also wanted to defeat Katie Britt in favor of Mo Brooks. Right. They're in favor of Steve Marshall over Will Ainsworth as the next governor of Alabama. Josh, this is a winning strategy, right?
Yeah. I was just sitting here thinking it's going well for him. Great job, guys. No, this is. I'll say this, and I don't know who decided on the whole 1819 radio move, but whoever did that, it's hard. It's harder than people think it is, as we know, right? It's hard to sustain. It's hard to get a foothold. It's hard to attract people that will support your business. Even if you're overly conservative in an overly conservative state, it's still very hard because you got a lot of competition out there, and you're battling to get the attention of people and of voters who don't want to give out any attention to these sorts of things usually. And so, I mean, man, it's been a struggle for them, and I think some people have gotten tired of it.
It's expensive too. Let's not forget. I mean, all these ventures, people think, oh, it's just a website. Oh, it's just a radio show. These ventures are expensive. They cost a good deal of money.
Well, having done it for over a decade, we know. We wish Mr. Crosby all the luck he deserves, and same thing for Ms. Smith as she takes over the helm at API. We have to leave it right there. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics.
There seems to be a new wave of aggressive driving lately.
You see those people, they are the ones that are tailgating other people because they have to get to their destination now.
Weaving in and out of traffic, looks like they could care less about who's around them. There's no one else on the roadway. They're the only one there.
Aggressive driving can be the difference between life and death.
All because somebody thought they needed to be the front of the line and get there first.
Slow down. Don't be the reason that someone else doesn't go home tonight.
My dog Jupiter is frightened when I climb too high, the owl said.
Check for monsters, Daddy.
I did, honey. There are no monsters. You're perfectly safe.
Protect yourself and those you love. Vaccinate now.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. This week, Jacob Holmes over at APR did a story in which it was revealed that nearly $2 million in state tax money have gone to lawyers and experts to defend the state's transgender law, the Alabama Vulnerable Children Compassionate and Protection Act, which is neither protecting the vulnerable, it is not compassionate, and it is not protecting anybody but lawmakers who want to demagogue children. Anyway, this is a law that would prosecute doctors for prescribing hormone treatment or any type of treatment for transgender use up to 19 years old. Josh, we've spent nearly $2 million on experts and attorneys to defend a law that a second-year law student could have told you was going to fail in court.
Yeah, well, I mean, we basically had a second-year law student as a judge, so it was appointed by Trump who told you that that it's going to fail. Yeah, listen, this is sort of an industry now, especially among conservative groups, and listen, there are also some issues like this on the left as well, and I think. While I agree with some of what the Democratic folks are trying to do with a lot of their stuff, and I think they're far more compassionate and caring in what they're trying to do, it's still wrong to set up these sort of experts that everybody just goes to, and you just contribute to the pool of money that goes to these people that'll come in and say what you want them to say. And that's what we've done. Matter of fact, we've got somebody from Australia to come in and just say what we want them to say. And it's just, we see it in the abortion cases. We see it in these transgender cases. We've seen it in a number of different things that Steve Marshall has signed us up for. He signed us up for another one this week that Texas is suing about some immigration law that, is really, really important to the people of Alabama. We've skipped over the child labor happening down the street, but we're in Texas working on the border. But these things are happening right underneath your nose. And we spend millions and millions and millions of dollars every year on alleged experts and legal fees for lawyers to handle this crap that we get involved with every single year that does not aid a single Alabamian.
Well, and one of my problems with this whole issue right here is that, and the way they're approaching it, is most of these experts aren't experts in this field. They're just basically people that they can pay to say whatever they want to say. I mean, they don't have any bona fides in their background that actually makes them an expert in gender transphobia.
And the thing is, they're paying these people $75,000 a pop to come up and testify. And basically the judges have just slapped them down and said, I'm not buying what you're selling.
Yeah, but it's idiotic. It's idiotic.
Yeah.
I've seen Myron Thompson just destroy some of these people that they've used before in the abortion cases. And here's the thing about it is we're paying them $75,000. Arkansas is paying them $75,000. Texas is paying them $75,000. Mississippi, and it's all a big industry for these folks and the law firm that's involved in this to come in and take these cases.
Well, and this one in particular, I mean, there are really, we're talking about, you mentioned Australia, Toronto. It's people from just D.C. They're not even people from this state.
No.
They're addressing our particular issues in this state with these.
We've gone international to find these people. Yeah.
Exactly. What does that tell you?
Well, and the sad thing is that what they're doing here is this is political. It is not. It is not about children's health. No. It is not about the welfare of a family. No, it is simply about politics.
If it were a huge problem for Alabama, you'd be able to find an Alabama doctor somewhere who would come on and testify on your behalf and say this is a huge problem for Alabama.
Exactly.
And he'd do it, or she would do it for free.
Yep.
Yes.
But they use children as pawns in what I'd like to describe a devil's bargain. I want to read you this. Terry Schilling, the president of Conservative American Principled Project. He's one of the main, that's one of the main groups pushing critical race theory, pushing transgender children. He said, I quote, "The transgender youth issue is a political winner." He admits it's not about children, it's about politics.
Exactly. It's exactly about politics, and even worse, they've done this. They've used children as pawns in this, knowing full well that these are the most at-risk kids in the entire world, and they've used them as pawns. And in the meantime, it's been a political loser for them up and down the ballot, all the way across the country.
And here's the thing: it's not just transgender youth. Think about CRT. Think about bathrooms. Think about any of these things. Think about the books they're taking out of libraries. And what it is that they found out that the minute you put children in whatever you're trying to attack, people pay attention. That's what's making it.
Fear.
People pay attention. And it's not working at the ballot box like you said, but still they figured out that once you put a child in there, it gets people's attention.
Well, anytime they say a bill is for the children, you can guarantee it's not.
It's not. It's just fear.
I mean,
it's just a fear tactic is all it is.
But this to me is so unhealthy and actually so discompassionate because these are families and we that are going through struggles, and to show them compassion rather than attacking them in such a vicious way. You don't have to be pro-transgender or pro this or pro that to be pro love and compassion of your neighbor. And
all
this
I want
is
you to
just
do,
the opposite of that.
Yeah, all I want you to do is just be pro mind your own damn business.
Yeah, well, you can't get that either.
No.
Unless it's about them.
Of course.
Now, they do not want you to come and say, well, you need to take this vaccine or you need to do this. I mean, then they're pro-choice for them.
Yeah.
But they are, you know, when is it right that the government, as especially a government as dumb as ours, to tell people and families what they can do with their health? I don't know.
There's no good answer for that.
I just fear that what Schilling said, it's politics, and they push it to the detriment of our children and our families. And they say they're compassionate about children and families, and they don't give a damn when they do things like this. But anyway,
it's just a shiny ball for them.
All right.
That's all it is.
We're gonna have to leave it right there. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
Throughout my career, I've seen many crashes, and a lot of the fatalities are from people who haven't worn their seatbelt.
Cars have rolled over multiple times. I've had people end up in lakes, ravines. I've been looking for people in the woods for a couple hours before.
Usually just about every bone in their body is broken, their organs have ruptured, and typically they die.
You want to save a life, just simply click a button and put that seatbelt on.
Seatbelts really do save lives.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly.
Lights out.
Good night. And put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
Speed is one of the biggest factors in a fatal car crash. Your car stops, but your body does not stop at the same time. Your body keeps going, you know, and that could be running into your seatbelt, that could be hitting the airbag, something has to stop it, and unfortunately it's something very hard.
There have been times that we've come upon accidents where if people weren't speeding, they'd probably still be alive today.
It's truly dangerous and it puts everybody at risk.
There's just no point to it.
This kind of stuff has got to stop.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. Josh, we've talked about this several times on the show lately, but this past week, everybody seemed to be up on their high horse about school choice. It was school choice, National School Choice Week. I wish we'd have a national use your common sense about schools week. We can't seem to get that or use your common sense about anything. But we looked at some of the pros and cons here of school choice. And one of the pros that people put out there is school vouchers improve education in general by making public schools compete with private schools for students in a free market way. Now, that is a claim, but that is not a conservative idea. That's a Republican idea. Basically, you're talking about in Alabama $1 billion worth of money that
it's wrong and it's stupid.
That they want to get their hands on this private money. But do really school vouchers do more than just funnel money away from public education into private hands?
No, that's all that they're meant to do. That it's never improved the educational outcomes anywhere. Okay, you can talk to a handful of people on an individual level that say that their kid might have been better off because they could take this and they could go somewhere where they couldn't have gone before, and they believe that the education that they received at this place was going to be superior to the one that they were going to get at whatever public school that they were zoned for. All right, those are individual based outcomes, okay, that you can talk to. And yes, those are important for those individual people. But when we're talking about educating the overall populace of the country, all right, when we're talking about educating an entire group of kids, every kid that walks through the door, that's what we've determined as a country is important here for our society to be educated. And that includes educating all the kids with learning disabilities, all the kids that come through that are impoverished, who are from single parent homes or zero parent homes or wherever they come from. Everybody that walks through a public school door gets an education, and the teachers there have to be prepared to educate that child. And what you're doing when you give away those vouchers is you're taking a kid that already has an advantage over all of those other kids because they have those parents who care and who can take them to a different school and who are involved in their life and their education, and you're giving them a further leg up to go somewhere else and spend it at a private school, at a private business that isn't adhering to the same standards that we've decided are important for the public schools. You're allowing them to go over there and receive a better outcome when they were already going to receive a better outcome from this. And now I don't want anybody to be punished, but what I want you to do is to fix the damn public school if you think it's broken. Spend the money there.
Exactly. What they're doing, and all this sounds, very they're shepherding and all these underprivileged children. That's not what's happening. The underprivileged children, like you were talking about, are being left in the failing schools, and they're doing nothing to try to improve the failing schools for the rest of the children that don't have a parent that can take them to and from a private school, that don't have the extra support at home. You're just leaving them hanging out to dry.
Well,
you're talking about. I'm sorry. You're talking about, because this just gets me every single time when we start talking about this. But you're talking about, when you do this voucher, you're talking about benefiting a minority of students. Okay, that's what it's true. Everybody who does this knows it's true that you're going to benefit a minority of students by doing this. So you're saying it's okay for us to give a better opportunity to a minority of students and leave this majority of kids over here struggling and left behind in schools that aren't worth a damn. That's what you're telling people right now.
And one of the biggest points of school choice is the one that parents have already made, because parents with means move into communities where they have good schools. It is parents that are middle income that can move into Madison County or parts of Jefferson County or different parts of the state and provide their children with schools in that district because they have money. It's the kids in the districts without money that they say will benefit from school choice, but these are the very students that they will not bus to the good schools.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, 1,000%. Listen, we know what fixes this. We know what fixes underperforming schools. We know what lifts up impoverished students and struggling kids and learning disabled kids and kids who are at risk, that we label at risk for a variety of reasons. Okay, most of them due to economic situations or what have you. We know what works. We had a 15-year study of what works, what lifts them up, without bringing down the top, and it's integration. All right. It's the only thing that's ever worked. It's the only thing that's ever worked, and they won't do it, and you know why they won't do it.
Well, and I don't even know what to say to that, but I do know this, that if we took the extra money we have now, which is a bunch of
Yes,
money
it is.
in the Education Trust Fund, and looked at how to fix the 10 to 15% of those failing schools, we could make a lot more headway than taking the money that we have for schools and giving it to private voucher programs.
Simple. It's a simple solution. It's integration based on economics. Okay, it's all it is. You forget the race-based models. Base it on income, family income, and integrate your schools based on family income and set a baseline level of a percentage that has to be there every time. And I guarantee you the outcomes in this state will transform within the next 10 years and we'll no longer be at the bottom. I guarantee you it'll happen.
Well, I wish they would try something different than trying to give money to big corporations that want to control education. I do want to pay respect and kudos to Governor Kay Ivey and the legislature. You know, back in 2001, they allocated some $18 million to, Susan, start these mental health crisis centers. We now have 4. One just opened in Jefferson County this past week. Governor Ivey was there to open it.
It's a wonderful thing. I mean, we've got some mental health issues in the state. Everybody knows it. I'm glad it's finally being addressed. We had a friend of ours from out of state call and go, Alabama's finally addressing mental health. Oh my God, I can't believe it. And we're like, well, yeah.
Yeah. Well, if they could just address the mental health at the State House, that would help.
Yeah.
Be helpful. But
Well,
these are
maybe
very
maybe we can get an outpost there at the State House.
These are very positive outcomes for our state, where we have these centers that people can go into and get assessed and have some help over time.
And crisis management for like 24-hour, serious situations.
It's very important. It is very important for anybody who's had a family member struggling with those sorts of issues. Then you know the importance of that, she should be congratulated for it. Yes,
we commend the governor and her people for getting this done. You've been watching the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.